morning. This is take 3. Ubura coffee. Wanda. Got about a half a hopper left of it. That's about a week's worth, I think, maybe a little less. Been thinking what to talk about this morning. First, I thought about talking about paying bills that we think are not ours justifiably. Meh. Flip open the old iPad, and first thing that popped up was a ghost story on X. I thought, well, I don't believe I've talked about the supernatural. As someone who's had a supernatural experience, I suppose it's appropriate to talk about the supernatural. You know, having experienced myself and all. So after contemplating becoming a priest, I joined the military and became a hospital corpsman in the Navy. And during that time in the Navy, I went to many churches. I tried many different flavors of Christianity, and none of them felt right. So being the young, dumb, pretty much undeveloped adult, I chose atheism. And I became an atheist for a good 4-5 years, somewhere in there. It wasn't a dark period of my life. It wasn't, I didn't do anything different. I was still myself. I still treated people as kindly as I could. I still did the right thing. I didn't go around stealing. I didn't go around trying to convert people to atheism. That was never my intent. I wasn't an anti-theist. I was an atheist. And then one day, after I got out of the Navy, I was at my parents' house, and I had stayed the night there, and I was laying in the back room of this very, very old house. And while I was sleeping in a waterbed, no less. You coming up here, dude? You coming up? There he is, the old man. Takes him a minute to convince himself he's still got it in him. So, I'm laying in the waterbed asleep. I mean, dead asleep. My parents lived in a small town, and here's a good shot of Skinny. Not a high crime town in the deep South, Georgia. And I'm not sure how old the house was. It was a very old house. Probably one of the older houses in the town. So I'm asleep, and a diehard atheist. I've just decided that's the way I'm going to be. Well, in the middle of the night, I'd say probably around 2:30, 2:45, someone has come into the room and has pushed down on my chest to the point, as a matter of fact, I never was a back sleeper after this. I always was a side sleeper after this incident. Anyway, they pushed down on my chest so hard that I could feel myself sinking into the waterbed. And I could feel a waterbed has the great big bladder, and then a covering around that and a sheet around that. And I could feel myself being pushed down, and I could feel the bladder kind of wrapping itself around my body a little bit. Of course, I screamed. Probably not some very nice words, and something about killing whoever was doing this to me. And they let loose of me at that point. So I came up out of that waterbed super fast, shot over to the light switch and threw the light on. Room was empty. Well, except for me and my and my thoughts. I forgot to charge the gimbal, is what just happened. Maybe somebody doesn't want me talking about this. All right. So, we're going to have to do this old school. Not really sure. Let's see, I think it goes this way. Yeah. So, sorry about this. I think it doesn't go that way. I think it goes this way. So, I'm staring at the room, and of course, my parents have come to my door, and they're knocking on my door, and I open the door, standing there in my underwear. Skivvies, at the time, is what I called them. And they ask what the hell's going on. And I explained that someone had pushed me down into the waterbed, and of course everybody rolled their eyes and went back to bed. Well, needless to say, I didn't get any sleep that night. I did try to get some more sleep, but basically I was left alone with my thoughts. What did this mean? I wrestled with those thoughts for the next couple weeks because I was convinced I did not dream. This was not a dream. I'm still convinced that was not a dream. I don't know what it was. I've told friends in the past about the time, the incident. In my mind, it's the incident. And some people have said you were touched by an angel. Some people have said that the house was haunted. We have many stories of the house. Some people have said it was a demon. Some people have said you were just dreaming. I don't have those kinds of dreams, not normally. I mean, I've never had that kind of dream, ever. I never have had anything along those lines before or since. And until recent years, I've always been a very sound sleeper. Recently, as I've aged, I've kind of got to the point where I don't sleep nearly as much as I would like. I'd like to get 7 hours sleep. Today I got 6 and change. But I cannot recall a dream ever having been so vivid that I was tactilely pushed upon. It just wasn't a dream. And for those that don't believe and have no faith that there is something other than these meat vessels that we have, then okay, I'm good with you believing that. This is not something I can change your mind with. This is not something I can convince you of. This is just something that happened to me. And as a personal experience, I could never convince you that I jumped out of a helicopter if you choose not to believe it. I know that's a different thing. I know that that's something that is more fathomable, more acceptable to people. But it was a personal experience. This was a personal experience. So it is my experience, and it was and will continue to be me being honest about my personal experiences. This is what happened to me. So the fact that this happened to me steered me away from atheism. At that point, once I accepted that what had happened was real, and it was, I had some hard choices to make about faith, about religion, about the existence of a God or gods, about ramifications of actions within the world that we all perpetrate on each other. It is a hard, difficult thing to accept one's inevitable demise. To me, it is just as hard and just as difficult to accept that there is something else than a final death. And this incident has always been a reminder to me that there is more. So, I guess you can say I didn't flat out choose to no longer be an atheist, that there was actually a hand in it that changed my mind. It changed my mind. That's my supernatural story. That's my story of why I am no longer an atheist and haven't been for decades. And will go to my grave not being an atheist. Am I a Christian? Yeah, I have tendencies toward that particular belief system. Of course, I also have tendencies toward a Buddhist belief system. One of the things that I pride myself on being able to do is say, I don't know. That's why the wife and I laughingly call the church I belong to the Church of I Don't Know. I do believe. I have gotten on my knees and prayed for forgiveness. I have been baptized more times than I care to admit. I have done the traditional Christian route of asking Christ into my heart. I have gone through the Catechism of the Catholic Church. I've read many texts. I don't know. So, if not knowing and admitting that you don't know is against your belief system, how am I supposed to follow your belief system? And how am I supposed to ask you to follow a system that is so nondescript as mine? There are those who believe that because I don't live as a Christian and follow the Christian tenets, that I'm doomed to hell. I don't know. And I dare say they don't know, because I've never been given any proof about that belief system. Obviously, I've been given some proof personally that there is something. But because you were born into Christianity, I should follow your belief system? Or you were born into Islam, I should follow your belief system? Or Buddhism? Or Hinduism? I mean, we're all born where we're born. It is a difficult choice to decide which belief system is right. I have had hands laid upon me in a Catholic church. Christian church, not Catholic. Well, I've had hands laid on me in a Catholic church as well. I have had so many Christian fellow human beings try and convince me to come to their side of the church, but I'm not going to go somewhere where I haven't been given the proof in my heart. And I've asked, I've just not been given. So I remain steadfastly a believer, but I also remain steadfastly in the church of I don't know. This morning I'm in the church of drinking good coffee. I'm going to take my vitamins, throw on my work shirt, head off to a safety meeting. Hopefully I'll get some good information. I hope you all have a really good day. I hope that you find something to believe in. And I hope you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time. Auf Wiedersehen. Good.